In the heart of an ancient forest, far from the relentless hum of the city, a man named Alex sought solitude. He wasn't running from anything, but rather running towards something, a simpler life, a deeper connection with nature. With his own two hands, he built a tiny cabin, a cozy haven nestled amongst towering pines and whispering birch trees. Each log was set with purpose, every nail driven with a dream of quiet mornings and starlit nights. For months, his only companions were the rustling leaves, the chirping birds, and the occasional deer that would curiously peek through the foliage. The world outside, with its deadlines and demands, felt like a distant memory. Alex had found his paradise. The air was crisp, the silence was profound, and life was beautifully uncomplicated. He spent his days chopping wood, tending to a small garden, and exploring the winding trails that crisscrossed the forest floor. The cabin became more than just a shelter. It was a sanctuary, a testament to a life lived deliberately. He believed he had prepared for everything the wilderness could throw at him. But there was one thing he never ever expected. One fateful evening, as a thick fog rolled in and a storm began to brew on the horizon, his perfect solitude was about to be interrupted by a knock on the door, a knock that would change his life forever. The storm that night was unlike any Alex had ever witnessed. Rain lashed against his small window panes, and the wind howled like a mournful wolf. Thunder cracked overhead, shaking the very foundations of his sturdy little home. Inside, Alex stoked the fire, its warm glow a comforting presence against the fury outside. He was reading a book, lost in another world, when he heard it. A faint sound, almost swallowed by the storm. Knock, knock. He froze. Who could possibly be out here, miles from the nearest road, in the middle of a tempest? It had to be the wind, a branch hitting the door. He tried to dismiss it, his heart beginning to pound against his ribs. But then it came again, louder this time, more insistent. Knock, knock, knock. This was no branch. This was a fist. A wave of unease washed over him. Every survival instinct screamed at him to stay put, to ignore it. But another deeper part of him, a part that knew the unforgiving nature of the wilderness, couldn't ignore the possibility of someone in desperate need. Taking a deep breath, he grabbed his heavy flashlight, its beam cutting a sharp path through the dimly lit cabin. He slowly approached the door, his hand trembling slightly as he reached for the old brass handle. What kind of person, or what kind of creature, would be knocking on his door on a night like this? He pulled the heavy wooden door inward, bracing himself for whatever lay beyond. The wind and rain immediately surged into the cabin, extinguishing a candle on the nearby table. Standing on his small porch, drenched and shivering, was not a lost hiker or a menacing stranger. It was a young boy, no older than 10, with wide, frightened eyes that seemed to glow in the beam of Alex's flashlight. The boy was clutching something tightly to his chest, something wrapped in a bundle of blankets. Alex's fear instantly melted away, replaced by a surge of concern. "Hey, are you okay? What are you doing out here?" He yelled over the roar of the storm. The boy just stared, unable to speak, his teeth chattering uncontrollably. Alex quickly ushered him inside, shutting the door against the relentless weather. He helped the boy out of his soaked jacket and wrapped him in a warm, dry blanket from his bed. As the boy began to thaw by the fire, his grip on the bundle loosened. Alex watched, utterly bewildered, as a tiny furry head with two pointed ears poked out from the blankets. It was a wolf pup, whimpering softly. The boy, finally finding his voice, looked up at Alex with pleading eyes. "Please," he whispered, "you have to help her. Her mother. She's hurt." The boy, whose name was Leo, explained everything in a torrent of words. He and his family lived on the other side of the ridge, in a small off-grid homestead. He had a special bond with the local wolf pack, a connection built on mutual respect and quiet observation. That afternoon, he had found the pup's mother caught in an old rusted trap, likely left by poachers years ago. In the ensuing panic and the worsening storm, the mother wolf had run off, injured, and the pup had been left behind. Leo, knowing the pup wouldn't survive the night alone, had followed the faint glow of Alex's cabin, a light he'd only ever seen from a distance. As Alex listened, he looked from the terrified boy to the tiny, shivering creature in his lap. He wasn't a veterinarian. His knowledge was limited to what he'd read in books. But looking at Leo's desperate face, he knew he couldn't say no. This was no longer just about his solitude. It was about two lives that had stumbled into his. He had to help. He gathered his first aid kit, some warm water, and a dropper. The pup was weak, but it drank a little of the warm, diluted milk he prepared. Throughout the night, Alex and Leo took turns tending to the tiny wolf, a silent pact forming between the man who sought isolation and the boy who had shattered it. The storm finally broke with the dawn, leaving behind a world washed, clean and glistening. The forest was calm again, but inside the cabin, everything had changed. As the first rays of sunlight streamed through the window, Alex saw the worry still etched on Leo's face. The pup was stable, but its mother was still out there, injured and alone. "We have to find her," Leo said, his voice firm. Alex knew it was a dangerous undertaking. A wounded wolf could be unpredictable, and the forest, slick with rain, was treacherous. But looking at the determined boy and the sleeping pup, he felt a responsibility he hadn't known just a day before. "Okay," Alex agreed. "But we do this carefully." They packed supplies, water, food, the first aid kit, and a thick blanket. Leo led the way, his small frame moving with surprising confidence through the dense undergrowth. He pointed out faint tracks in the mud. A broken twig here, a patch of snagged fur there. Alex, the seasoned woodsman, found himself in awe of the boy's intimate knowledge of the forest. It was a language he was only just beginning to learn. For hours, they tracked the mother wolf, their shared mission creating an unspoken bond. Alex's quiet, solitary world had suddenly expanded to include a boy and a wolf, and he found, to his surprise, that it didn't feel crowded at all. It felt ... right. After a long and arduous search, they found her, lying in a small, mossy hollow. The mother wolf was weak, but alive. Her leg was badly injured, but she had managed to find a safe place to rest. As Leo approached her slowly, murmuring soft, comforting words, Alex hung back, giving them space. He watched in amazement as the powerful animal, instead of showing aggression, merely whimpered and nuzzled the boy's outstretched hand. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated trust, a bond between human and animal that defied explanation. Working together, they carefully cleaned and dressed the wolf's wound. Alex used his knowledge of splinting to stabilize her leg with sturdy branches and strips of cloth from his own shirt. Leo never left her side, his presence a constant source of comfort for the distressed animal. Getting her back to the den was the next challenge. With painstaking effort, they managed to help the mother wolf limp her way back, step by painful step. When they finally arrived at the hidden den, the reunion was a sight to behold. The pup, which they had brought with them, rushed to its mother, and the two were a mess of happy whimpers and licks. Seeing the family back together, Alex felt a profound sense of accomplishment and a warmth that had nothing to do with the fire in his cabin. He had come to the woods seeking peace and quiet, but he had found something far more valuable. In the days that followed, Alex's cabin was no longer a solitary retreat. Leo became a regular visitor, and a unique friendship blossomed between the man who had left the world behind and the boy who was so deeply connected to it. Leo taught Alex the secrets of the forest, the names of the plants, the calls of the birds, the hidden paths of the animals. In return, Alex shared his books, his stories of the city, and his woodworking skills. They checked on the wolf family daily, watching from a respectful distance as the mother healed and the pup grew stronger and more playful. The cabin, once a symbol of Alex's isolation, had become a bridge between two worlds. Alex realized that the solitude he had craved wasn't about being alone, but about finding peace. And he had found that peace not in the absence of others, but in the meaningful connection he had forged with Leo and the wild creatures they cared for. The knock on the door that stormy night hadn't been an intrusion. It had been an invitation. An invitation to be part of something larger than himself. He had built a tiny cabin in the woods to get away from it all, but in the end the wilderness brought him exactly what his soul had been searching for, a sense of purpose and a family he never expected. Thank you so much for watching our story today. If you enjoyed it, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more heartwarming content. We'll see you in the next video.